We are well aware of what's going on between Israel and Palestine. And the Palestinian people, as well as their supporters, feel that this war started because Israel is occupying land that they should not be on. So before we actually get into the land and how this actually got to this point, I want to look at Zionism. Zionism was founded around 1897 by Theodore Herzl, and he wanted to establish a Jewish state in the Palestine nation. And the reason he wanted to do that was because he felt that the Jewish people, wherever they went, they was being persecuted, and they did not have any land of their own in order to feel safe. And they also felt that for biblical reasons, this was their ancestral land, and they wanted to get back to that land. And so in 1903, British Secretary Joseph Chamberlain offered them land in Uganda so they can have their own land. But they refused it because they wanted to have their land in Palestine because they felt that it was their ancestral land. The land itself, Israel, Jerusalem, it went through different hands throughout the centuries. First it was the Israelites, then the Assyrians, Babylon, Persia, Greek, Roman, Muslim, and then the Ottoman Empire took over. And the Ottoman Empire ruled from 1517 to 1917. And they ruled the majority of the Muslim lands as well as Israel. And so during this time, a lot of the Jewish people, well, during the time when it was occupied by Muslim and also the Ottoman Empire, a lot of Jewish people left and they kind of spread out throughout the world. Okay, so at this point we understand that the Ottoman Empire is actually controlling the land at this point. And then when World War I started, that is when things started to get a little tricky. World War I started July 28, 1914, and it ended November 11, 1918. And the countries that was involved was Europe, the Middle East, Africa, the Pacific, and parts of Asia. In the height of the war in 1917, British Foreign Secretary Arthur James Balfour submitted a letter of intent supporting the establishment of a Jewish homeland in Palestine, hoping for the support from his allies. And at the same time that he was making this promise to establish a Jewish nation in Palestine, the British was also making an offer to the Arabs, because the Arabs are under the Ottoman control at this point. And so he promised them, if you help us overthrow the Ottoman Empire, what we will do is establish an Arab kingdom. So they went ahead and agreed and helped them defeat the Ottoman Empire. So he's making a deal on one side, well, the British is making a deal on one side with the Jewish people, and then he's also making a deal on the other side with the Arabs, and he's promising both of them that land. And so that land currently is occupied by Muslims, by Christians, the Palestinians, some Jews. And so when they actually won the war, now it's coming time for them to make, right on the deal. So the Jewish people are now moving back to Palestine because they're thinking, okay, this is going to be our land. So they start moving back. And then you have the Muslims saying, okay, what's going on? You promised us this land. So as they're seeing the Jewish people coming back to the land, and then the Palestinian people are on the land. The Palestinian Arabs, Muslims, they're on the land. It's starting to get, crowded, and it's starting to be a conflict. And so they continue to kind of battle each other, fight each other for the land. And during that time, it's like the more they pushed, the more the Jewish people pushed, they was able to get more and more land. And then when World War II happened, which coincided with the Holocaust, a lot of Jewish people started coming back to that land because they had nowhere else to go, and they was running from the persecution, they was running from the Holocaust, and they was seeking safety. So they was making it back to the land itself, which was now known as Israel. And so the Palestinian people was getting upset because it's like, what is going to happen to us? Where they're going. The Arab nations did not like it because there was like, there was like, Palestinian people are already here, where they're going. And so it kept getting overcrowded. So now Britain, who actually started the problem by making promises to both people, they kind of said, okay, we're going to put a halt on Jewish people coming back to the land. They cannot come back. But the Jewish people kept coming because they didn't have anywhere else to go, and they did not want to stay, in a country that was basically killing them. So they kept coming, and so it kept getting crowded and crowded, and it was always conflict between both sides. There was always fighting, and the Jewish people was getting more and more land, and the Palestinian was having less and less land. So it got to the point where the borders that you see now are, was like the last, I guess the last of the competing for land is the current borders that we see now. And to kind of help this situation, what the British people did, they kind of turned everything over to the League of Nations, and went ahead and established Israel, a Jewish state, Israel, and the borders was mapped out, and they said, okay, this is the Jewish people land. As soon as that happened, all the Arab nations that was around them, which was Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Egypt, they did not like it, and so they went to war with Israel. But Israel ended up winning and defending themselves in that war. And so that's where the conflict come from, and that's why they're continuing to fight, because they feel that the Palestinians feel that we was on this land. Y'all just came in and y'all took over. The Jewish people feel like we was promised this land. This is our ancestor land, and that's why we came. And so throughout this whole thing, they have been offering deals to the Palestinian side, saying, okay, we can change the borders around. We can, give you this, you can have that. But they did not want to agree to anything, for the simple fact they feel that all this land is ours and we should have all of it, and the Jewish people should not be here at all. But unfortunately, you can't go back and, you can't go back to the past. So what exactly would the resolution be if you can't come to an agreement as far as, okay, let's look at the land as a whole and see how we can kind of like evenly divide it, or see what we can do to come to an understanding that we both have to learn to live next door to each other in peace. Until that happens, there's always going to be conflict. And I understand that the Jewish people feel like if they can get rid of Hamas, everything would be fine. That might be true and that might not be true. It's hard to say, because you don't know how these people are going to feel, because in them trying to get rid of Hamas, innocent people are getting killed, kids are getting killed, family members are getting killed, kids are losing their parents, parents are losing their kids, their husband, their wives. So it's like, what type of mentality or what type of, how they're going to feel when all the smoke clears, when everything's settled, how are they going to feel, how they are now going to look at the Jewish people. Are they going to look at them as liberating them from Hamas, or are they going to look at them as people who came in and killed my family, killed my kids, killed my mother, my father? You know, are they going to look at them in that light? And then also I can understand from the Jewish standpoint, from Israel, because okay, the border's already set. You might not like this situation, but it's already set. And they came across the border and kidnapped and killed Jewish people, and they still have those kidnapped people on the Palestinian side. So it's like, it's a lot of heartache on both sides. It's a lot of pain on both sides, and both sides feel that they're right. And so that's where the issue lies. It's like, how can you really solve this? What is the true answer? What do the Palestinian people want? Because if they feel like they should not, the Jewish people should not be there, where do they want them to go? You know, officially now it is their land. So what do they want? It's like, either you're going to have to live next to them peacefully, or it's going to always be conflict. Because I know some people are saying that the Hamas is not a terrorist organization, it's a freedom fighter. But if you're a freedom fighter and you feel that you're being suppressed or oppressed in some type of way, you're going to continue fighting until you get past that, until you get over that. So it's like, are you planning on stopping at any point, or do you have an agenda, you know, other than pushing Israel completely off the land? What is your agenda? And so the only thing we can do as Christians is really just pray for both sides. Pray for peace in Jerusalem. Pray for the families that have lost loved ones on both sides. Pray for the healing of the people on both sides, because they're going through a lot of stress on a mental level. These are kids that are hearing bombs on both sides going off. These are kids that are living in fear on both sides. So we need to pray for both sides, for kids, for these innocent people, that they do, once everything's settled, they can move forward in some type of way. They can, you know, hopefully get past this that's going on now. And so that's basically what I want to say, because, you know, what is the answer to solve this problem? And so unless they can come to an understanding, come to the table and make an agreement, it's like this situation with this land, it was promised to two different people, and I can understand both sides. Because if the British people are telling the Arab nation, y'all can have this land if you help us defeat the Ottoman Empire, but then they're also looking for help from the Jewish people, saying, okay, we will allow you to have, you know, if we win, we will give you Palestine. We will give you this land that was your ancestors' land. You can have it back. You can live there. So if both sides are being given the same land, you're going to have conflict. And so unfortunately, like I said, you can't change what has already happened. But I pray for both sides. I pray for peace in Jerusalem. Peace.